So it looks like we're finally getting some new X-Men Age of Apocalypse figures coming our way from the Mafex line by Medicom. So let's check out both Cyclops and Wolverine and see what their sets have to offer. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we'll be diving into the two new X-Men figures coming soon from the Mafex action figure line by Medicom Toys. Right, so these figures are modeled after their X-Men Age of Apocalypse counterparts derived from the comics. Right now, there's been a couple of other Age of Apocalypse 6-inch figures done in the past, most notably from Hasbro Marvel Legends, but these should have more to offer in terms of the design, accessories, and articulation. And from a first look and impression, they definitely have some more details on the figures themselves, especially Cyclops' optic blast. But there are some potential design issues that I'm seeing, however, that may affect your decision to want to pick these up. So let's get into those details and see what those are. If you first take a look at both of their general designs, they are again 1/12 scales. They stand about 6.3 inches and made of plastic, weighing around 1 pound each. Right now, they each also come with three different head sculpts as well as different pairs of hands. And Psych actually comes with accessories, which we'll dive more next. And they're considered to be more highly detailed, right? According to Mafex. So if you've had Mafex figures in the past, they are more detailed and have more high articulation points versus something like Hasbro Marvel Legends, right? Now here you can see that paint applications look pretty good. Wolverine looks a little more sheen, the coloring of his overall costume, whereas Scott looks more muted, right? Also, Logan looks a little more beefy, wider in scale, and also a little shorter. But if you remember, that's how it originally was. So it makes sense that they've sort of tried to keep that model on him. Whereas Cyclops was nicknamed Slim, right? So he's more on the lean, tall, lanky side. So I kind of like how they've tried to deliver that here and make that distinction between the two figures, right? So overall, they look good from a first impression standpoint, whereas I think Cyclops has a little more details to me in terms of what he has to offer that stands out more, right? Now, in terms of Cyclops design himself, here's a couple of shots of him from the front and back side, right? You can see it's a good physical sculpt, and the details are done fairly well here, right? You can see his right arms are toned well in terms of the muscles from his shoulder down to his forearm. The paint applications looks pretty good. It's solid though throughout all of his pieces. There's not much shading done there from anywhere that I can see so far. But the blue does look nice, like the flat blue here that they've used has nice variations between the black mixed in as well. So it gives those nicer, darker tones to have his muscles also be more accentuated, right? So it feels more visible, which is good, right? Now, in terms of the hair, the Fabio kind of hair looks great. I like the skull flow to kind of coming down to his left and how they look down the back of his head, right? The length variations look good and give it a more dynamic look. And I like how the black is mixed into the brown, which makes him look more vivid as well, right? The visor on his head sculpt looks good. I just wish that the red was a little more vibrant, right? It feels a little too muted to me. Still looks good overall. I like the details in the left arm. It has some really good separation between each of the joints, that being overly excessive. And the forearm itself looks great, especially how they wrapped the gold around it as well, right? But I would have liked to have a little worn out battle damage type of look. The paint applications, especially on his left arm, right? It feels a little too flat to me and toyish rather. I would have wanted to keep it more in line to what kind of looks more in the comics, right? And even if you look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends version here, you can see there's some decent worn out looks and application of paint on the actual arm itself. So it does look different. I would have wished they would have added that in. Nevertheless, he still looks pretty good overall, right? Now, in terms of the actual figure details itself, here's a shot of one of the visor accessories, right? So I really like the optic blast smoke here, how it sort of flows outwards, and the look and color of the red and the clear. So the red here, in my opinion, looks better, right, than it does on his actual optic blast visor, just because it's more vibrant. It doesn't feel as flat. So I like that the red here look better overall. Right now, in terms of the face sculpt, his expression looks good. The skin color does look a little off, right, to me, guys. Right, I feel like he is too pale and peachy looking for my liking. Also, the lips look a little too light and pinkish as well for me. Like the coloring looks like it was applied maybe halfway up his lips for some reason, not all the way through. So that kind of stands out to me. And also his teeth are too symmetrical and perfect, right? Like who's this dude's dentist? And sign me up because when I look at his teeth, I don't know, something about it just feels off. It's not bad, but I don't know. It's just his teeth look too perfect for me. Now I do like the Wolverine scarring on top left side of his face. Right, there's some nice details here. I like how they made the outermost claw mark the deepest, so it's a nice transition there from left to right. Looks very realistic, and overall the details on him on Psych are not bad. But there are a couple of details that I wish they kind of touched upon, especially on his face. Right. Jumping more into the face sculpts and visor accessories, right? So Psych does come with three head sculpts. They all do look somewhat similar, but one has the air sort of covering his left eye, while the other one has his visor more exposed, right? Now the difference is Psych also comes with three visor effect accessories, right? So you get the full optic blast, which is nice. You get the powering up version of it, where you have like the looks like a cross, which is cool, and then the one that's like post him firing it, which looks awesome. And I also like how it's removal of his head sculpt, so you don't have to replace the entire head. You just kind of clip these on and off. The full optic blast is my favorite. It looks really done well in terms of the color fading from left to right. It has multiple layers of energy, which is nicer than sort of it looking flat. And overall, just these accessories are just better in my opinion than what Wolverine has to offer, which we'll look at next. But generally speaking, I do like the look of these optic blasts and how they're able to be interchangeable fairly easy. Right. Now moving to Wolverine's designs, here's some shots of Logan from the front and back. Again, good physical sculpt details, and both of his arms were done very well in terms of the toning, the muscles that they've added here from his shoulders, triceps, bicep, everywhere, done very well. It does have sort of a bigger butt, in my opinion. Right, it feels large or kind of just protruding out a little too much for me. Still looks okay, but this is something I noticed when kind of flip the character around. So the paint does look good. It does again have a nice sheen, dark, like sort of blue color, solid color throughout, and the red axes were done very well. But the capping of his arm, right? So if you actually look at the left cap of his arm, I feel like that is kind of what throws me off, right? Simply because it looks again clean, kind of similar to Cyclops's. His entire arm, was again looks too clean. Wolverine's cap looks too clean to me, right? Overall, still good, but I just wish they made it look a little more worn down. And for those who don't know why he actually has a capped arm, it's because in the storyline he lost his hand doing his battle with the alternate Cyclops of that universe. Right, so instead of letting it heal over time, he capped it, right, and he has the stump kind of sticking out. Right, so overall, it does look decent, but again, I wish they could have added some more weather look to it. One thing I also like here is kind of like his Goku Super Saiyan hair, right, that they've been able to translate here, which looks good overall, especially from the front to back. Another thing that I've noticed here that kind of throws me off is this yellow belt, right? Feels a little too rubberish to me. It reminds me of one of those wristbands that is like what would someone do type of wristband, right? In life, right? So this feels again a little too rubbery, a little too clean. Overall, it does look pretty good, but again, I wish I would that they added some weathered effects to it. Right now, in terms of the details of the figure himself, I like to have they delivered a lot of the hair, especially on his arms. The facial hair looks good, and also the sort of the face applications as well as the red paint applications done on his head. Right now, in terms of the eyes, I think the mascara was a little overdone here. You kind of see a gloop look of mascara on the bottom of his eye, so they could have probably toned that down a little less. But you do have some nice details overall on his face. I do like the also the how the Wolverine claw accessory came out on his left hand here. So in terms of the actual stump being replaced with his claws version, looks pretty good. One thing again, as I mentioned multiple times, it still feels a little too clean to me. And also, I don't see a strong enough sort of puncture look coming through the stump of the blades themselves, right? So in other words, when the blades come out, they typically leave a stump. They have like a look to it where you see that the blades actually come out. Right here, it's a little too clean. Nevertheless, still looks pretty good. So you can complain how they delivered it, but again, missing that sort of damaged weather look. Not a high effect, but just some slight variation to it would have helped in my opinion. Overall, though, you can see here has pretty good articulation and is able to do his standard expos pretty well. I don't see any major struggles there from the pictures, right? In terms of the face sculpts, again, the claw accessories, we did see one of those claw accessories mentioned in the previous picture. But in terms of the head sculpts, all three are again fairly similar to each other, with some slight variation between the mouth and the eyes. The eyes, I do like the variations between the three because some are wider, where it helps give them that like I want to slice you look delivery, right? So it was done well there overall. The mouth and teeth look good here, especially teeth looks less perfect than Sykes, right? And I really like how he delivered his angry look. Again, here's some nice pictures of his Wolverine claws from further at perspective. It doesn't really come with many accessories, right? He just comes with the really the one, right? Because you really can't give him much more. What they could have maybe added was maybe some slashing effects, right? Like some slashing effects with his claws, which could have helped as well. But nevertheless, still decent for what you get, especially with knowing how type of character it is. But would have been nice if they'd given him some slashing effects. Otherwise, this is pretty good at what Medicom has been able to deliver, and not bad overall, right? Pre-ordering is live on multiple figure retailers online, and feel free to use the link in our bio to help get you there. They'll run you about $110 each, and shipping is expected around Q2 to Q3 of 2025, right? So the price point, in my opinion, with Mafex figures like this are pretty much on point. This does seem to be a little price high, especially for Wolverine, just because he just really comes with one accessory. Whereas Cyclops, he has three different optic blasts, which is nice. Um, so maybe they could have dropped it to around like $90, $95. Nevertheless, it's still pretty good, and the retail isn't too bad, right? Now, if I had to choose one of these, I would probably choose Cyclops just because it comes with better accessories, more dynamic posing options, and whatnot. But truth be told, if I had to choose between one of the X-Men Mafex figures, I'd probably, especially for Cyclops, I'd probably choose the Jim Lee version. Whereas Wolverine, I'd probably choose his X-Force version instead, right? But nevertheless, these are good sets overall, and for Age of Apocalypse fans, these will look great in your collection. So there you have it, guys. Thanks for joining me today as we explore the new X-Men Age of Apocalypse figures coming out soon from the Mafex figure line. Are you a fan of either one of these two new X-Men figures? Let me know in the comments below what really stands out, and if you plan on trying to get your hands on either one of these. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button for more content on the coolest superhero collectibles around. And until next time, folks, keep on collecting.